This is actually how I love to do the show. Is just, we met 4.5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about you other than you had a story go viral and you were a Seattle police officer. And I was getting hit up by everybody. They're like, get her on the show, get her on the show.
Oh, were you really?
I was. I got a lot of DMs on Instagram from people requesting you do the show. And that's obviously because my whole following was a result of being a police officer that said what, not only what I believe, but what most citizens believe too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and for whatever reason, people think like it's cops and it's citizens. We're actually part of the community.
Yeah, we are the community.
And we share a lot of the same perspectives as plenty of the fucking people that live in our jurisdictions that we actually serve. But for whatever reason, once people put the uniform on, they won't say how they truly feel in their heart.
Yeah.
Very few cops will.
Yeah.
So when people see a cop do that, it's like, yes, finally.
I know.
You know?
I know there's very few of us that have actually done it. And I hope that, you know, me speaking up will bring more people out. I hope.
Yeah.
Because we're really swirling the drain right now.
Well, we are literally, and when I say we, I mean people in the law enforcement profession, we're literally the first line of defense between the corrupt political elite.
Yes.
That this is no longer conspiracy theory.
No, it's not.
We have a corrupt elite class of people.
We have a corrupt government.
Yes. And they're dictating all of these policies and laws, and people are sick of it. And if the police who hold the power to just say no would do that.
And no is a complete sentence. You can say no.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
If more would do that, all the bullshit would end. That's it.
Yeah, it was always no. It was, I'm not going to walk down that aisle with the arrow going that way. That makes no sense. I am not going to hug you with a shower curtain on. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I'm not wearing a mask and breathing my own CO2. I am not.
Yeah.
No.
And the thing is, it's like, you remember when this first kicked off, anyone that said anything like that, which is just common sense based.
Common freaking sense.
We don't need a fucking PhD to say, hey, you know what? This doesn't make sense. Because, I mean, people like us get a lot of support, but then the other equal side of that is a lot of hate.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of people like, you're not a fucking doctor. How could you say that? And it's like, oh, I didn't know that medical schools where people obtain common sense.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
So going into this, I don't know if you've ever listened to the show or not, but how I like to do it, I just hit it fucking blind. We sit down, we talk, we have a good time, and we tell your story. So I always give people the forum to kind of introduce yourself, where you came from. Obviously, you became a Seattle police officer, kind of what that journey looked like. And then everything that leads up to your story that went viral, what, August 1st or whatever, you know, a couple weeks ago, whatever.
Yeah.
And then really unpack that. I think people are really going to like hearing this stuff.
Okay. So my name is Jessica Taylor. I have kind of lived like all over. I went to high school in Bend, Oregon, went to high school in the middle of BFE in Montana, and then went back to Spokane, and then ended up down in Utah, which I would live again in a heartbeat. I love Utah.
What part of Utah?
Well, I lived in Draper and Sandy and Midvale and Salt Lake City.
Okay. I was considering very, very, very quickly. It doesn't make sense financially, but a position in Provo opened up at one point.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. Everything is wide. Yeah. And I would go back there in a heartbeat.
Well, what's stopping you? You're free now.
Well, I'm free now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm stuck here for a little while just for family reasons, but
okay.
Then probably Tennessee or something.
What part of your roots landed you in Lake Stevens? Because we have some mutual friends, as you let me know.
Yeah, we do have.
How do you know Ange?
That is a really long story. I mean, not really long, I guess. I mean, everybody knows everybody in Lake Stevens.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know. And we had a mutual friend in common because of she was friends with somebody that I worked with. And that's how I met her, through that, when she still had the boutique down in Squamish.
Oh, Bebops and Lollipops?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was funny because it's like when I was initially asked to have you on the show, I was like, well, she's a Seattle police officer. I was a police officer in Seattle. I'm sure we have some type of mutual friends or connection that I'll be able to connect with her.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought the Ange would be our mutual connection, you know?
Yeah.
She told me, she goes, oh, you and Jessica will have an awesome episode. You guys will vibe and hit it off.
She's good people. I love her. So anyway, okay. So I ended up in Utah, and then I was a personal trainer, fitness trainer for a long, long time. And then my mom started to get really sick. She was an alcoholic. She lived up here in Oregon, in Florence, Oregon, and my sister lived in Whatcom County. So this job for Seattle pops up, and I'm like, well, I'll test. You know, I don't know anybody except for my mom and my sister. I'll test and just see what happens. Well,
had you ever wanted to be a police officer before? Or?
Well, I dabbled in corrections down in Salt Lake City, but I never. It wasn't something that fitness was always my thing growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been into fitness. Never once was I like, oh, law enforcement is my jam. I'm just going to stop at nothing till I get it. That was never.
Okay. Yeah.
That was never me. So I scored well on the test and was hired right away.
And what year was this?
1998.
Okay.
Yeah. So I packed up all my stuff, came out here by myself, bought myself a house over in Kitsap County because that's the only place I could afford.
Okay.
And at the time, $101,000 was like a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how quick $100,000 is no longer hardly anything?
Yeah.
You know?
And back then I was like, oh my God, how am I going to afford $700 a month? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm having to take the ferry over every day for the academy because we had the academy at that time down at Sandpoint. So
the police academy was at Sandpoint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Seattle ran their own academy.
Got it.
Because there was a lot of us at that time. So, I was taking the ferry every day and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so broke all the time. But, so I started FTO, I think in November of 98. And then, slowly just started moving up the chain, So I got to lieutenant and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Now you're one of them.
Yeah.
Now you're part of the command staff.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh man.
What was it like being on patrol in the late 90s?
We were coming out of turf war back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we're going back into it now, obviously, with the uptick in crime. But we were coming out of that then. And my very first call ever, I'm like, what am I even doing here? I am like a fish out of water in this job, because I had never seen crack. I had never seen, any of this stuff. And now I feel like I have seen, there is nothing that will shock me at this point.
No,
I mean, there is nothing you can throw at me that will surprise me anymore.
I tell people, like, some of the shit that you deal with on the streets of Seattle is like making a social contact with someone that is clearly on methamphetamine. And I had this one female that just pulled her pants down and started pissing and shitting. Things like that.
All the time.
Yeah,
That's like normal.
No, yeah, that's normal in Seattle now.
Yeah, that's normal.
Or you'll be doing a Terry stop and pat someone down and their pants are full of shit. And
all the time.
And that's just, okay, you're addicted to drugs, you're homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But you don't even have the wherewithal to pull your pants down before you take a shit.
Yeah.
And tons of people in Seattle are already there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's really, really sad, actually. I hate to see, when I moved here because I'm not far right and I'm not far left either. I'm, would consider myself moderate, and
I think most people are.
And most people are, right? And so I moved here because it was kind of like at the time, everybody just got along and you just did your own thing and everybody just accepted everybody and it was clean and it was beautiful. But now it's just so polarized. Nothing is going to get accomplished like this.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I tell people all the time, because I grew up here. And when I was 14 years old, growing up in Snohomish, I could get on a city bus and go skate with my friends downtown Seattle all day.
Yeah.
No concern of any dangers or any problems. And now, as a father of a 14-year-old,
yeah, no way.
There's not a chance.
Not a chance.
You're going to Seattle alone.
If at all.
Yeah, if at all. Well, no, when you say if at all, that's true.
That's true.
Because the last time I took my daughters to Seattle, we went up the Lenora Street elevator.
Why would you do that?
Well, because they wanted to go to Pike Place Market. You know, we're walking the waterfront, and we go up the Lenora
and
Street.
You're like, whoosh.
Yeah, seriously. And as soon as we step out, there's a kid who's on the verge of ODing. Or possibly OD. Like if I was on patrol, he would have got Narcan. His eyes were rolling back. He was foaming, and my kids were like, "What the fuck?" And I said, "Stop." And I said, "Look at that.
Turn around."
I said, "Look at him." And they're like, "Dad, what are you doing? Stop!" I'm like, I am not trying to make you uncomfortable or scare you, but I want you to remember that that's what happens when you use heroin. You have to understand that that's reality right there in front of you. You know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I want to go on a Ferris wheel and take my kids out for lunch, I don't necessarily want it to be a lesson on life and death.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So when I got hired as a police officer in Seattle, it wasn't until 2017. And I'd been to Los Angeles for a long time before that in law enforcement. So I didn't see the 2-decade decline of the city. But you got a front row seat to that.
Oh, I got a front row seat. Yeah. Well, or I wouldn't have come here.
Yeah.
I would, under these circumstances, I would not be here.
Well, and that's a scary thought too, because Seattle or just nice cities in general, if it's a nice city, it's going to attract good people.
Right. This is all based around Seattle, but really this is like my story is going on in every major city right now.
For sure.
Right? Like San Francisco, LA.
Certainly the left coast.
The left coast.
But I'll tell you this, I went to Houston not too long ago, and it was the same fucking thing. There was tents and zombies everywhere. And I was like, I'm in Texas. I didn't think Texas played any bullshit. Well, apparently Houston does. So
really?
It's weird, you know?
I truly firmly believe that with the right leadership from the White House down to the school board, that you can really turn these ships around. But it's going to take people getting involved. And people don't want to get involved, but they have to get involved.
I mean,
all politics are local. Yeah.
I don't know, though. I feel like it's become such a good old boy system.
Oh, you don't even
on the local level.
Yes.
They fucking squeeze you out, you know?
Yeah.
And you can call it election fraud or whatever, but there's very specific protocols that people in hoops people have to jump through, and they have it all set up to keep their people in the positions of power, even on a very like the city councils and shit, because my sister looked into all that, and man, they're like, nope, not a chance. And she couldn't even like get past stage 1. And it's pretty fucking incredible how dialed in these people are at maintaining power. And just like you said, literally from the White House all the way down to the school boards.
Yes, it's true. And it's going to take people, the common word is waking up, but really you have to look below the surface and research and dive into what's really, really, truly going on. Because it's just like a whole smoke and mirror show.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just a sleight of hand, kind of just so you barely notice it. You know something's up, but you don't know really how bad it is.
I feel like that's probably been going on for 20 years.
Oh, it has been. It's been going on for decades.
And it was going on right under our noses for a long time.
Right under our noses.
But fuck, man, if 2020 didn't wake you up to it, what will?
I don't know.
Because like you said, people need to wake up or they need to open their eyes. If 2020 didn't make people open their eyes, they'll march to the cattle trucks and just be driven to their slaughter. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm not suicidal. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's true, right? I mean, it was so obvious, Greg, to me from the get-go. Like, am I missing something? Because
I know. I was right there with you.
I'm like, there is no way you're forcing this on me. You are violating every right that I have.
And my whole job is to enforce people's oath, or my oath is to uphold people's ability to
if you want to
have
take
rights.
It, great, go ahead.
Yeah.
Right? But you're going to do this to me, but I'm going to respond to a house where they may or may not have and protect their right to may or may not have. It just nothing made any sense.
Well, I also feel like during that period of time, they suddenly wanted police officers to wear like all of these different hats that is completely outside of our legal authority. You know, like how many videos did you see of cops going into like mom and pop shops and candle shops and like, or the surfer down in Malibu, like all these people that were either having their businesses forcefully shut down or people told that you can't be in public, you can't be at the park, you can't be surfing, you can't do this, you can't do that. And no cops were fucking saying anything. They were just, and how many times did you hear this? Well, yeah, I don't want to be doing this, but I'm just doing my job. No, you're not. That's literally not your job.
Yeah. You're
being a fucking henchman for a corrupt government is literally not your job.
Yeah.
But everybody fucking did it.
Well, I have to say at that time I was at the South Precinct, and the South Precinct is a group of officers who can pretty much run themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are like super dedicated, super smart. All they deal with is shootings all the time. I mean, they can work a scene in like 5 minutes and they don't need any supervision, right?
Yeah.
So at the time when we were doing the closing the playground thing, you know, with police tape and stuff, I had a acting lieutenant come up to me and she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not making my people do that. And I'm like, no, we'll just pretend like we're doing something else and just move on, or not doing that. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. When
you guys did not go out and do what they were trying to assign you to do, did you guys get any pushback, or were people upset about that? Or was it just, I mean, the job was kind of chaos at the time too.
It was chaos. Yeah.
So it was probably hard for people to monitor what was happening and what wasn't happening.
Well, of course you wanted, you know, the people that want you to wear your mask, but then you can't hear the other officer standing next to you with who's standing next to the person that's screaming, you know, with this mask on. And it was the whole thing.
Or radio traffic.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's crazy is I have the police scanner app on my phone.
Yeah.
And anytime I hear something crazy going off, just locally, I'll tune in to see what's going on.
Because it could be your house.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But listening to radio traffic, I can't understand it anymore. I was listening to it with my wife and kids the other day, and my daughter's like, how can you understand anything they're saying? And I'm like, I kind of can't anymore. But with that earbud in all fucking day, it was just normal life for a long time.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. And when you're wearing the earbud, you only hear what really pertains to you.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Because it's prefaced with your call sign.
Well, and not necessarily, but, you know, as the lieutenant, you just know who
I see what you're saying.
Are,
yeah.
And you just know where people are. You just automatically hear it. Yeah, it's I feel ya. Yeah.
So before we go down our wacko conspiracy theories that ended up with both of us leaving the profession, I'm very interested to hear about watching the decline of Seattle over the last 2 decades. Because like you said, when you got here, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
And now I won't even walk through the city.
I come across the pass. And as soon as I get to the top of the pass, I start to feel like this tightness in my chest. Like I'm going to have an anxiety attack.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because that's how fucked up the West Side is.
That is how bad I do not want to be over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't feel safe. I don't want to stop and get gas anywhere. You know, I'm just like, oh, come on, let's just make it to North Bend. At least make it to North Bend.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's sad.
and that's sad because when I moved here, I was just so excited to be here. I loved my job. I thought I was really good at it. And then just slowly, it just started to just get crappy. And, you know, I had come in right before WTO.
Okay. Yep.
and then I got my rude awakening, like, oh my God, is this what we do? We just damage a bunch of stuff on May 1st and now November, whatever it was at the time.
That's right.
I mean, that was my first experience. I've never been exposed to anything like this before. I'm not
just watching people act like animals for no reason.
It was just crazy. And then Christopher Kime gets killed with the skateboard at Mardi Gras, right? And we're told to stand back. And I'm like, what?
What year was that?
I can't remember what year that was.
I'm just curious from your guys' perspective, who were boots on the ground.
Yeah,
like,
I was just an officer at that time. I'm like, what are we doing? We signed up to protect these people. I did anyway.
And like in 1999 and 2000, like if someone was in front of somebody's business in a tent shooting up heroin, they're going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think we even had that problem back then, honestly.
Well, and that's why we didn't have the problem, though. I feel like people knew there were consequences.
Yeah, there's no consequences for anything.
And that's what's like. You could use like a parental analogy. If you let your kids do whatever the fuck they want, guess what they're going to do? They're going to run wild. You know, there's a certain percentage of the population that is morally and ethically grounded in just living in a correct manner. And then there's a percentage of people that, if they're not managed, they go fucking savage. That's just the human race, right?
Yeah.
And now what we've done is we've allowed the percentage that is wired to just go savage to just do whatever they want because they know
the criminals are running the city.
Like, what the fuck are we?
They are running the city, and they know they're running the city. And it is the craziest thing I have ever experienced in my life. I'm like,
do you think it's by design?
I do.
Okay. Because
yes, do you?
Well, that's my question to you, because I used to think it was just incompetence, right? I used to think.
I think it's a combination.
Honestly. I used to think these radical left politicians, and again, like, by today's standards, I'm a right-wing wacko conspiracy theorist, right?
I am too. But in all honesty, to your listeners or whatever, I am an absolute moderate.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care. Like, there's plenty of social issues like drugs to put what you want in your body. That's actually, I believe, if you want to be a heroin addict, be a heroin addict. But as soon as your addiction now causes problems for other people in society, we got to drop the fucking hammer on you.
Yeah, now we got a problem.
Now we have a problem. And so it's like, if you look at what we allow people to do now, like how many people, especially from a leadership position, because you got to see all of it from a more of a detached position. For me, I never made it past patrol level officer, but I would make an arrest for whatever, like let's say a car prowl or something. And then, 3 months later, you'd get the letter from the prosecutor that says, thank you for working case, blah, blah, blah.
So thank you for working hard on this case.
Yeah, unfortunately, at this time, we're choosing to decline prosecution. Please don't let this deter you from conducting good police work in the future.
And you're like, why am I even bothering?
I literally think every single case gets that letter these days.
I know.
Yeah. And
yeah, absolutely. And there's even some big ones.
What are the biggest ones you've seen that the prosecutors just turn a blind eye to?
Well, I can't really say because I don't know for sure because I haven't done a case in forever. But I do know my own stalking case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this guy wanted to get himself a cop, been stalking us, Mike and I, for 2 years. We didn't know. broke into our house 3 times in one night, and on the 3rd time came back with a baseball bat, flooded our house.
You and another cop?
Yeah, both of us work for Seattle.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I was in the Tri-Cities at this time, and Mike was home because our animals were there. And those big, cement bricks started coming. This was our dream house, right? We had an atrium in the middle. It was beautiful. We sat on a little over an acre, but it was dark, like really, really dark. And you could see the coyote lights start going on and off and on and off, he said. And bricks started coming through the window, and I'm on the phone with them, and it sounds like gunshots are coming through, but trying to call 911 from out of area, you can't do it. They're like, you need to call non-emergency. I'm like, it's not a non-emergency, It's
yeah,
like,
someone's throwing bricks through my window.
But it sounded like gunshots.
Bricks or gunshots. You have a right to fucking have people responding to your house immediately.
So Pierce County came 3 times that night. Our house is completely destroyed, like inhabitable. He laid out our uniforms across the showers and stuffed them down the drains and turned on all the water and completely flooded the house to the tune of like $275,000 or something in damage.
And who the fuck is this guy?
I can't even.
Let's turn that a little bit.
Okay. So he is, as far as I know, he is still in Western State, maybe, but incompetent to stand trial.
Okay. God, dude.
Well, so I had called the department just in tears, like, help. I'm over there. Mike's at the house. Now it's been like 30 hours that this has been going on, right? And, just begging for help. Can somebody please come down and help us? Pierce County's stretched thin. They've got the whole county to cover. Can you please send somebody so Mike can get like a few hours of sleep? So after like pulling teeth on that, they did send down a couple of SWAT officers. They said, we can only give you six hours, but you got to get vaccinated.
Wait, what?
I'm like, wait, what? It's like, we really want you. We know you're not coming back,
So, we'll obviously have to rewind and go down that rabbit hole, but you had left the department.
Well, no,
you were on some type of leave status.
Well, I was on long-term disability because I have trigeminal neuralgia.
Okay.
And that is where a artery or a vein collapses at the back of your head and rubs on the myelin to the trigeminal nerve, which is to your face.
Okay.
And it feels like somebody's stabbing you in the side of the face with an ice pick. Well,
so it's super awesome.
So it's super fantastic. Yeah. It's like the best time ever. So what magnifies it is like heat and cold and touching your face and stress.
Yeah. So you're not getting in my ice bath after this?
Well, no, I am not affected by the cold. Okay. Most people are. But I'm not so much. But the stress, that's a different story.
That's what triggers it, huh?
That's what triggered it. And when this Chaz
bullshit
started up, and I was the use of force lieutenant at the time, and I've got mounds of paper like this, and the officers are just, it was awful, and the stress just they're called tics.
Mm-hmm.
The stress just kicked up my tics, just like nobody's business. So I went off on long-term disability. The city gave me my federal FML or whatever.
Yep.
And then I slipped down into the unavailable black hole list where all us dirty, unvaccinated people went.
Okay. What did they do in that time period to, I was going to say, for lack of a better word, coerce, but it was coercion.
Oh, yeah.
What was the department? Because, see, And what a fucking blessing in disguise my timeline was, because I stood up against the bullshit early on.
Yeah.
And I never had to face the vaccine mandate, the mask mandate, like, because I would have got fired for all of that as well.
Oh, I was waiting for it. I'm like, TikTok, let's go.
But what was the department telling you guys during that time period? Just straight up. If
It was like our email every day was like the CNN ticker.
Oh God.
You know, like so many people have been infected and this many people have died. And I'm like, come on. Have we not all heard about Operation Mockingbird? Do we all not know about that? Apparently we don't.
Yeah.
You know, it was just the crazy. And I'm like looking around thinking, how is everybody falling for this? You know, it was crazy. So anyway, you know, those emails came out every single day.
And then if you refused, I mean, you were already on
I was already
of leave status.
Yeah.
But for the officers that were still active duty, what were they looking at for?
They got terminated.
Okay, so that was happening.
Yeah.
I know that was happening. And
then I think the city's like, oh, shit, we can't do that.
Duh. You think?
So after like about 5 firings, I think they kind of like, oh God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so then I get this letter or this email from this Emily, somebody, and now they're trying to backtrack. Like first they gave me an accommodation, the city did, and then the department immediately retracted. So I'm without an accommodation. So then I get this email, you know, short time later, like, do you want to have a meeting to see if there's an accommodation available for you? And I'm like sitting there going, well, what changed? This is clearly a pretext.
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to cover your butt because you know you just majorly.
Just fucked a bunch of people.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
No, it's all CYA.
Oh, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is just gross.
It's gross because
the whole fucking point, if you're going to act like you're going to enforce something about mandatory vaccination, the reason that you would ever do that, one would assume, is for public health. No one ever gave a fuck about your health. You know? No one gave a fuck about anyone's health.
And Greg, I've had vaccines I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
No. Well, I am now.
I
will never take any of their bullshit.
Oh, no, me neither. Not now. Not after I see the truth of what's really going on. But I've never been that person.
No, I was the same way. I mean,
I am, you know.
Unfortunately, I wish that I'd knew more earlier on.
Oh, me too. But I was also brainwashed and thought those people were crazy.
I know. I
thought they were crazy. On the street, when they would talk about the elites and stuff, I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Yes.
Yep, this is a schizophrenic.
Yes, and now I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Like some of them, and make no mistake, they are still fucking crazies, right? But some of them,
they know
some shit, man.
They know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now I'm just like, oh my God, I have this really good friend. Her name's Natalie. And thank God for Natalie, because she sees it like I see it.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had her for the last, 3 years just to bounce
someone
this stuff.
To lean on.
Yes. Because I feel like I'm like sitting in this bubble by myself with like all this knowledge that most people think is just like so out there. And the truth of it is unless you're on, different type of media, you think we are all a bunch of wackos.
Well, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people, if it's on CNN, that's fucking blessed off as fact,
Yes.
And I've had,
and do you not realize, you guys out there that are listening, that the same people own all the networks?
They own all the networks. Like everybody's getting rich on the same scheme. Big pharma's paying them all off.
They don't care if you're right or left. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They could care less what your political ideology is. They just know how to create chaos and confusion and pit us all against each other.
And then they all get rich in the process.
And they all get rich in the process.
And this I've talked about on the show a lot. At a bare minimum, the political elite and big pharma and big tech and big media, at a bare minimum, they're all colluding together to get extremely wealthy. And they look at us as just minions that they can just extract massive amounts of wealth from. Because guess what? They all got fucking rich, or they all got richer during the pandemic.
Oh, 100%.
Where all the mom and pops, they all went out of fucking business, right? So at a bare minimum, it's about them making massive amounts of wealth.
Yes.
But that's the bare minimum.
Yeah, it goes so much deeper than that.
The potential for it to be a lot darker and a lot more ominous is more likely than not.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a deep rabbit hole. And I'm sure you've been down it. And I hope people go down it.
Listeners of this podcast are certainly going down it.
Yeah. And I really, really hope that more people learn what is really at stake here.
Well, what is going to inevitably end up happening? Yeah, you can't say that on your podcast. I'll say whatever the fuck I want on my podcast. There's going to be accountability at some point.
There has to be.
And all these motherfuckers that orchestrated this shit are going to get drug out in the streets and strung up.
There has to be some accountability because there are so many normal people, me and you and our families and our friends and everybody who has been deeply affected by this.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? Like
I don't have a job right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no job. I handed in, I made sure I got my retirement card, handed over the letter, went like this on my retirement card, like, peace out, I'm out.
Yeah.
But I don't have a job. And I'm 53. I mean, I'm not young, but I'm not like old.
Yeah.
Or am I? No.
You're right in between. 15 years ago, I would have said you're old.
I know,
but now that I'm coming up on 43, 50 is not too far away. So,
right. Yeah.
You know what I've noticed about age, though, is that, you know, like when we were younger, at least my generation, you would look at people that are in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and they all looked old and sick. So like 50, 60, 70, that felt old when I was 20. But now
that's because everybody smoked back then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were smoking, and like my dad's generation, smoking and drinking and gambling, just living hard.
Yeah.
This generation, I have plenty of friends. I mean, I own a gym. I have plenty of teammates too that are in their 50s that are savages.
Yeah.
And so you take care of yourself. The body can maintain a high level of fitness for a very long time.
Right.
And what I feel like is happening is like there's this gap and the divide is starting to happen. And people are either getting fatter and sicker, or people are on the train of health and personal excellence.
Yes.
And they're getting stronger. And it seems like people in the middle, there's less and less of that.
Yeah.
Because the formula's out there.
It is out there.
Know.
It is out there. And I was listening to your podcast, the one that you sent me the other day, and you were talking about being prepared and, that kind of stuff. And
I was ranting on fat people too.
Yeah. So. Well, I don't know. I don't think you were ranting, but it's true. It is absolutely true, and 3 years ago I would have said, yeah, right. Like,
oh, I know.
Like Bill Gates isn't really trying to dim the sun. I mean, how dumb is that? Yeah. And then now I'm like, oh my God. Right? Like,
and these motherfuckers are saying this stuff.
It's no secret that it's in Science Magazine. It's no secret. This stuff is real. It is really happening.
You want to hear something crazy? I do want to hear something. I just saw this. I saw this morning.
I want to.
All right. And this is something that is going to shock you because it doesn't make sense how this stuff just keeps happening and nobody's saying anything. So this book, have you seen this book?
No. Is that a...
It's called Fire and Fury, the story of the 2023 Maui fire.
Oh, and they do?
And its implications for climate change. All right?
Imagine that.
This book came out.
Like 4 years.
48 hours after the fire started. The fire started August 10th or August 8th. This book was written and published and released within 48 hours. So I have a lot of friends that have authored their own books. I'm halfway through my book. I don't consider myself an author yet because I'm just dabbling, right?
Yeah, right.
Halfway through my book has taken me a year. All right.
Yeah.
So this book is 86 pages, but
you still can't write 86 pages.
What the fuck are we talking about?
My 15 pages took me like 3 weeks to write.
Yeah. You know,
I did. Oh hell, I could go down a rabbit hole.
Look at the stars on the Amazon reviews. It's 1 star because everybody say, how the fuck was this book written?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, because
people are and a lot of people are saying now, and again, this is all hearsay. This is stuff off the internet, but it's not just like random fucking wacko conspiracy pages because I don't follow that shit. This is real people that are writing me. And because I built a big social media following and I'm getting a lot of people writing me saying, dude, our fucking properties in Maui are like BlackRock's trying to buy them all up now. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, and here's the thing. Does that mean
that was not a natural fire? I'm just going to say it. Well, that was not a natural fire.
Well, this is what I was just going to say. Does that mean it was a direct energy weapon? That's what people are saying could potentially start fires. Let's be honest. There was certainly some bad weather. A lot of trees and power lines were knocked down. But that doesn't mean that fucking nefarious actors just didn't take advantage of a bad situation too.
Yeah.
If you don't think people are willing to do that, pull your head out of your ass. And that's not me being a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
Or trying to do what the evening news does and scare everybody so you're living in this triggered state.
No.
Like, I'm not afraid of any fucking human being on planet Earth.
And you're not going to come and take my property in Lahaina either.
No, of course not. You know?
No. And those
like,
people
fuck you, man.
Like, need to stand their ground. Because
the Hawaiians are a tough culture.
Yeah.
I hope those people just fucking storm the capitals.
I mean,
you know?
I just can't even how are all these mega mansions not single one burned? How is that even possible? The probability of that is like 0.
Oh, I'm not familiar with it because I didn't see like what areas burned and what areas didn't. But you're saying it's very apparent that certain areas seemed protected.
Yeah, it's like the locals got burnt out. And all the mega mansions, Oprah and everybody else survived it just fine.
It's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah. And
we were just there too. And it's like, one of our podcast slogans, a lot of our apparel line is no one's coming to save you.
No one is coming to save us. That's absolutely
and
the truth.
My inbox has been filled up this week. It's like, bro, your words have never rung truer because no one, like there is no one. There's no EMS. There's no first responders. There's not maybe now because it's been a week or whatever. But when that shit was popping off, that's it. And the fucking fires were moving a mile a minute. That's how fast you drive down I-5.
Well,
think about that.
People don't want to. We're getting off topic.
We can get off. We can get whatever topic we want.
Okay, we're getting off topic. But people don't even know what HARP is. Weather manipulation is a thing, and they've been doing it for decades, like even before I was born. And people just refuse to believe it. They just don't want to see it, that our government is capable of doing these horrible things, and they are. And I am just horrified that, that's the situation.
I'm horrified that we used to be part of the government. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Because here's the thing. When people look at the government and they've now come to the conclusion that the government is corrupt, right?
And the government is
uniformed
corrupt.
Police officers are the first line of the government.
Agreed.
Right?
Yes.
And so it makes it, and it pisses me off because, as you know, the individual cop, all your friends that put on the uniform in the morning, most of them are good people.
They are good people.
They don't put the uniform on saying, I'm a henchman for this corrupt government and I'm going to go violate people's rights.
No, they don't.
Cops don't do that.
They don't do that.
However, because
it's the system.
Because it's the frog in the pot analogy.
Yes.
Everything started getting turned up so slow. And then the right people started to get into position. I mean, until 2020, then they just fucking turned the afterburners on.
Yeah.
But everybody that would potentially stand against this, it was like it was so well orchestrated. All the right people were in the right positions. Like all the chiefs of police, fucking cowards. All the mayors, fucking cowards. All the sheriffs, fucking cowards. And I'll get emails saying, "Oh, well, my sheriff did." Yeah, I understand. There are some outliers that stood up for right. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate those men and women.
Yeah.
But overall, the fucking elected officials, and I say elected with quotation marks because I don't believe that system anymore either. The cops are just doing whatever the fuck those people tell them. And those people are the weakest, least capable men and women on planet Earth. You go down and you look at all the people in Congress or all the governors or the mayors, and they all just look like 300 pounds of chewed bubblegum, fat fucking weak pieces of shit, or they look like Gavin Newsom, who looks like a fucking anorexic fucking woman with slicked back hair. None of these men or women are motherfuckers, but they're telling us what to do. How did that happen? Well, you know what I mean? It's shocking to me.
Well, it is shocking until I watched Yuri's video. You know who that is? Yuri Bezhnahov?
I'm not sure.
He was the KGB defector.
Oh, okay.
And it's on YouTube. And
he breaks this down?
And he breaks it down. And it's from like the early 80s, I think. But it is, if you listen to the video and then you pay attention to what's going on right now, you see it.
It's the same playbook, huh?
It's the same playbook.
Yeah,
it is. We're being taken over from the inside
same
out.
Playbook has taken place over and over and over throughout history.
Yes.
And what's the most ironic thing about this is all the people that are championing for all of these different restrictions and lockdown orders and stuff.
Or these 15-minute cities, or the swiping your hand, or the iris scan. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
They're literally being the useful idiot and pushing the agenda for people that don't give a fuck about them.
I'm like, are you even serious right now? Even at the airport, I won't let them,
Don't talk to me about the airport.
Yeah.
We're having a good afternoon right now.
I won't go through your scans. I won't go through any of that.
Yeah. I can't fucking stand. Because TSA, it's like they literally hired the dumbest people that they could find that'll just do exactly what they're told and never question anything. And if that's the workforce you create, you can do whatever you want to people.
Well, when I was in Vegas, or I don't know if I was in Vegas yet or Pasco, I can't remember, but it was flying down recently. And she had said something about, I said, I don't want to go through the machine. I'd rather have a pat down. And she was really, annoyed by that or whatever.
How dare you?
How dare you? You don't, I'm like,
I like how they say, this is less radiation than the flight you're going to go on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So since it's less than,
I said, okay.
It's just good to go then, right?
Yeah. I'm like, lady, I have 5G turned off on my phone. Don't even talk to me about this right now.
So you're just confirming to her that you're a lunatic.
I'm like, no, I'm not going through it. So
dude, it seems like your eyes were open the whole time then, obviously, like we've already kind of hit on 2020 exasperated everything, but you started to see all this for what it was fairly early on, then you'd say?
Yeah, I'm a critical thinker. If everybody's going one way, I think I see patterns, as I'm sure you do too. Yeah. I think all critical thinkers probably see patterns. And if everybody's going one way, why is nobody going the other way?
Yeah.
Because that's probably the way we should be going. And so I would research and research and research. I mean, I'd be up for hours at a time, late at night, just digging and, just trying to pull out information from, studies out of Israel, and because they were, some of the first to vaccinate heavily over there.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. So their death rate was way quicker than ours. So those studies were out as we were getting mandatory.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, download that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, I'm not putting that in my body. I'm not.
And what's funny is now we are seeing so many people just die suddenly, right? Like there is no question that, and I'm not going to sit here and say like percentage or numbers, or even that it was like, a lot of people believe that it was literally a depopulation agenda. And if I find out to be the case, I won't be surprised, just because I don't trust anything.
I don't trust anything
that these
either.
motherfuckers say or do. But the weird thing is, it's like, even when you have 22-year-old football athletes dropping dead on the field at alarming rates, people will be like, that always happened.
They're trying to normalize it.
They just continue to support this shit at any and all costs. And why would anyone, I don't care what your political affiliations are, I don't care if you're pro or anti-vaccine, if a bunch of young athletes are dying, why would anyone just say, no, that's normal, you're stupid? That's not something worth taking a look at and saying, hold on a second, something seems off. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Why isn't anybody just saying, okay, we screwed up?
You know what?
It would go a really long way if somebody would just say, oh man, I messed up.
Yeah, but those people don't have humility, and admitting fault takes humility.
They're doubling down.
They're doubling down. I think they're doubling down because at this point in the game, if they were to come out and say, hey, we fucked up, they might get angry mobs that fucking drag them out of their house and burn them at the stake, because that's what they deserve.
Well, with me, I'd be like, thank you for coming forward, because I didn't take the shot. But
if your kids did?
But if my kids did?
And then you find out, like, if they came out and publicly and said, hey, you know what? We realized we made a bad call, and it actually is increasing myocarditis and fatalities in young athletes and blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that people are suspecting. If they did come out and say that, there would be some fucking consequences. Because I'm a father. If I gave my kids this stuff and they ended up dying as a result of it, you better believe that they'd be making movies about the shit that I would do to these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's reasonable too. You tell us lies and you manipulate and you coerce, and then you make people's families sick. Why would that be surprising that people are fucking coming for you now?
I can't believe how long, I'm 53, how long I fell for this.
I know. Yeah,
like how long in school I believed everything that they told me.
Well, we were conditioned since we were little.
Yeah. And I'm like,
and you know what? I say this all the time. The whole 2020 thing is a blessing in disguise, because it forced you, again, if you're a critical thinking human being, it forced you to take a step back and question everything that you thought and everything that you were before that moment. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did 14 combat deployments.
I know. You're like,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh my God, was I involved in coup d'etat?
Yeah, like I was literally like the frontline soldier for the U.S. military waging war on the other side of the planet over bullshit, right?
Right.
So, I mean, obviously for me to go risk my own physical body for their agenda, I didn't think they were bad people. I thought I was on the team of right, because they sold it to a bunch of young 20-year-old Army Rangers.
And
like,
that's what they do.
Hey, this is, you know what this is about? This is about Operation Iraqi Freedom. We're literally going over there to free these people from an evil dictator. Like,
I know,
it's fucking,
I can't.
And everybody was like, yeah, let's go do this. Right.
Uh-huh.
And that's because I think the United States has held a reputation since its inception.
Because they control the media.
Of being strong and powerful and having integrity and all these things that we believe about our country. Mm-hmm. And so it really took something of exceptional magnitude before I had to look back at everything that I was and say, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, that's what I had to do too. I had to do some serious soul searching. Like, Jessica, you've believed this for ever. And now here the evidence is right in front of you, and not just in one place, but in lots of places if you look for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the place, but you have to look for it.
Do you listen to Andy Frisella by chance?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's mandatory listening
Yeah.
for people that do this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, it's strange to me that people just don't want, nothing's easy. Put in the work, find the truth, and then deal with it.
I like that you said that, because that's actually a very good analogy. I say it all the time to my team. Nothing worth having comes easy.
No,
And
if it were easy, everybody would do it.
Everybody would do it. And I run a jiu-jitsu academy, so I say it all the time. Like, the path to black belt, it's long and it's arduous and it's hard, right? But the path to anything is going to be a long and arduous path. That's just how it is. And you know what? You just said it. The path to the truth is a long and arduous path as well.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that's all that I'm trying to get to when I left is the truth. The truth will not get out. It just gets buried. You know, it would just get round filed. It would get swept under the rug. If they would have had a jump on me, they would have called me crazy. They would have called me, I mean, people still, you know, like, I hate your eyelashes, or, you know, there's those people who are, I'm glad you're gone, but for the most part, it's been like 99.9% positive.
That's what I say too. Like, the overwhelming majority of people in the profession are seeing this for what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, you know, the citizens see it for what it is now too, you know?
I hope so.
I really, truly believe that Seattle may be turning a corner as far as perception goes.
Yeah.
But whether they can do anything about it, because like you, I don't really believe in our voting system. I don't have faith in it at all.
But I'll say this too. I always, the caveat to that is that doesn't mean don't go vote.
No, absolutely.
Because the more of us,
there's more of us than there are of them.
Yes. And the more of us that go out there and voice, not only vote, but I say it all the time on the show, voice your opinion too.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean you have to have a podcast or an Instagram with over 100,000 people.
No.
It could be at your fucking Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean?
Because
like, or maybe not politics at Thanksgiving, but with your friends, with your family, with your community, speak your truth. Don't be part of the silent majority. Because what that does is that actually empowers our adversaries if we just do the right thing and stay quiet. Yeah. You know, fuck you. I will say whatever I want. And if more people would say whatever they wanted, it would be pretty clear that I think 80% of people,
we have been gaslit for so long, you know, and just had this fear instilled in us, you know, that if you speak out or you do this, you're going to get fired. You know, it just got to the point where I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally sitting there waiting to be fired.
So I want to unpack this a little better, because you went out on a medical.
I went out on medical. Yeah.
And even when you were out on medical, they were saying you need to get vaccinated.
I got a certified letter.
Vaccinated. Okay.
I got a certified letter.
Even to the point where when you needed a first responder, this has nothing to do with you being a cop, right? Can you imagine someone calls in a call for service and it's like, hey, there's someone breaking into my house. Are you vaccinated? Right. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? But it's also not surprising.
So I get this certified letter and I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me.
How long was it after you went out? Had you been out? I mean, I guess if it was from Chaz.
Well, it was probably it was maybe a year after I had been out.
Okay.
So I like, this is what we want to spend our time on? We don't want to spend our time on solving all these issues that are actually solvable if you know anything about operations. You know, and
well, of course they don't want. That's what led me to say earlier. Like, I used to think it was incompetence. Now I think it's by design.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, because.
So once you said, no, I'm not doing this.
Well, I said no. I said no, I'm not doing this when the shot first came out.
Yeah.
Because my commander had said, what are you going to do if they force it on you? And I just looked at him. He's like, oh, you're one of those.
I'd say, what are you going to do as the commander?
I would never, Greg, in my life, I would make you fire me before I'd force this on anybody.
1,000%.
You will have to fire me before I would take that away from my people.
Yeah, exactly. And if more fucking chiefs would do that shit, or commanders, because you know my story, my commander said the same thing. Greg, I support your message. Like, what you're saying is correct. Okay, cool. But not a peep publicly. And then when I got fired, he didn't fucking stand up for me. And he's actually like, I think he listens to the show because he's like, let me tell my story on the show. I don't want your story on the show because you had a chance to tell your story and you didn't. And now you're retired and it's 4 years later and you want to come out of it with some honor, not interested. You know, and that, I have no hard feelings towards him. That's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You don't show courage when courage needs to be shown, then you missed your opportunity. But it's sickening to me that all of these people in leadership positions didn't stand up for their subordinates.
1,000,000%.
That shouldn't fall on the patrol officer.
No.
There's 10 people in that person's chain of command between that and the chief of police that should be saying, hey, chief, this isn't how you treat your fucking people.
Yeah.
And nope. You know?
And
so then, and you're one of those. That's what he says to you, huh?
You're one of those.
You're one of those that's going to cause the winter of death.
Either he meant that or he meant like conspiracy, whatever. I'm like, well, whatever. If it is my tinfoil hat, then it's probably saved my life.
Well, here's the thing about like people that still want to attach like a conspiratorial mindset to not getting vaccinated. At the end of the day,
we were right.
But even right, wrong, data, fucking deaths, like what percentages of success, like whatever. At the end of the day, you should still have a choice.
Oh yes, that's the law,
and that's it. That's not a big. That's not a big fucking confusing thing.
No, informed consent is the law.
Yeah. So like, I don't understand how all these motherfuckers, they want to attach all these political ideologies to it, and they were using bullying techniques. Anything,
absolutely.
And this is what I said too, because again, luckily I was out before this became a thing. But anytime another man says to me, do this or else what, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Show me what or else looks like. I'd love to fucking see it. Because if my fucking commander came into the lunchroom and said, Greg, here's a fucking peach vibe Celsius, and you're going to drink that with your lunch today or else, huh? I like these.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But because you told me.
But because you fucking think you have the authority as another man to start interjecting rules into my life that are outside of the scope of my job, fuck you, dude. Like, can you imagine, like your commander fucking walking in your house and opening your refrigerator and being like, I don't like your nutrition choices, Greg. You need to have more meats and fruits. Like, that's how invasive this shit is.
It was really.
You don't get to tell me how to live. You have me from fucking 9 to 5, or in our case was 5 to 5 because we work 12s. Yeah. During those 12-hour shifts, I'm here to do the job, follow policy, and follow law. Outside of that, go fuck yourself. But this isn't just the professional law enforcement. This is professions across the board. Being part of unions and all these different fucking agencies that they have your soul 24/7. Yeah. And they think they get to dictate all of these. Like, I was actually just talking to some of my jiu-jitsu students that are part of the union, and it's like, if you piss hot for marijuana, you're looking at disciplinary actions. And it's like, how the fuck did we get to a place where a grown-ass man can't use a legal product on a Saturday afternoon because he has to worry about what his boss is going to think of it on Monday? It's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, this whole scenario, I just can't believe that they truly felt like they had a right to tell me what to put in my body without any facts. You know, they didn't even bother to research it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like sitting here with all this information, like, you need to read this.
Did you see the congressional hearings? I forget, it was like the CEO with Pfizer. And they're like, before, it's like, when you guys said at this date that you recommend this amount of dosages or this or that, had you actually received the conclusions of the trials that you guys had set up? And they're like, no. Like, it's under oath. People are literally saying like, hey, yeah, we didn't have information on this. No. We just, forced it.
Yeah. And then somebody leaked out the FDA, like, behind the scenes video and stuff. You can find that. I mean,
dude, it's all the stuff of Project Veritas. You see all the stuff with RFK.
Yeah. You can find anything if you look for it, but people aren't willing to look for it. They just listen to the media. And
I think more and more, the numbers support people moving away from major media, and most people are consuming, I guess what you could call news, for lack of a better word, through long format podcasting. Like Joe Rogan pulls bigger numbers than CNN and Fox News combined.
Oh, yeah. I only listen to podcasts.
That's what I'm saying. And that's where the truth is at. And you and I both have experience in that, because as my story went viral, I started to do some major media engagements with Fox News, some local stuff with, like, I think it was Como 4 here. And they'll sit down and they'll talk to you for 40 minutes. And then when you watch it air, it's literally 4 minutes. And it's like cut, a couple really brief talking points. And I don't think they were necessarily trying to paint me out to be bad, especially with Fox News. What's that motherfucker's name on CNN? Chris Cuomo. He wanted me on his show. I said, not a chance, dude. Stay the fuck away from me. But regardless if they are pretending to be your ally or not, your story doesn't get told in the manner in which you told it. Whereas podcasts, this is where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. And, the truth is the truth. And I'll share it here, just like I did there. But there, they can edit it. And, the truth is, Jason Rands, who we all trust, right? Or at least I do, is the only person that I gave that information to.
Okay.
Nobody else had it. But they all lifted his story without giving him credit for it, And so,
are you saying the letter that you submitted as part of your resignation, he had access to it? You sent it to him?
I did.
Okay.
I gave it to him before I said, let me retire. Let me get my little retirement card so Diaz can't fire me at the last minute. Because that's,
AKA that little fat pussy.
Because that's like totally something that I think that he would do. I mean, I don't know if he would or not, but it feels like something he would do. And let me get that card. And as soon as I get that card, hand all my stuff in, have at it.
Yeah.
And he wrote up the article, and it's the truth. The letter's the truth. And there are some people who are like, well, that's like a book, or that's like a manifesto or whatever. It's like, I've got one chance at this. I'm retiring one time. If I don't spit it all out now, where it, put it in public disclosure, where you can't hide it, I don't get another shot. They're not ever going to let me back in that building again.
Well, why would people try and call it a manifesto?
I don't know.
You know why? Because a manifesto sounds like something a crazy person writes. Mass shooters write manifestos.
I'm like, manifesto?
But since you're a retiring police officer that has...
they also called me unhinged or something like that. I'm like,
guess what? I'm fucking unhinged too.
Well, I don't even feel like I'm unhinged. I'm like, I've only got one shot at this.
So what I was thinking about for listeners to hear the letter.
Oh, yeah.
Would you want to read it on the air?
The whole thing?
How long is it?
15 pages.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do.
It's like, that would take like a half hour.
Yeah. I'll, as part of the episode introduction, I'll read portions of it before we release this so people can hear different portions of the letter of what we're actually talking about. But give a Cliff Notes version of the things that you shined a spotlight on, because obviously for people to be upset about it, because if you were saying a bunch of crazy shit, no one would be upset about it. The reason they're upset about it is because you're shining a spotlight on the truth, and these motherfuckers don't like that.
Well, in the letter, I talk about how I think the mayor is spineless. Which I do. You know? Yeah, the city is an absolute dump. You know, again, you could solve this problem if you had a freaking plan.
Yeah.
You know, if you came up with the plan and executed the plan, you could solve this problem.
And when you say this problem, are you
I mean, there's many problems.
But what do you think the primary problem is? Well, just the filth and the drugs and
the drugs and the homelessness.
Yep. Hands down.
Yeah. And
Jenny Durkin was a major player in all this bullshit.
100%.
You know? Yeah. Well, she lived behind a fucking fence, which is interesting because fences don't work.
Okay, but what's also interesting is SPD provided her security outside her house.
Oh, I know. I saw that fucking bitch come to the airport. This is the kind of arrogance that she doesn't have to go through security because she's the mayor of Seattle. So she just walks through the area where everybody else walks out, right? And she has some agreement that because
this is the kind of stuff,
because she's the mayor of Seattle, that she doesn't have to go through airport fucking security. And everybody just, okay. But here's where she fucked up. She brought her 2 adult sons with her too. And the person, the sergeant that was on duty that night, and I'm not going to say his name, but he's a pretty solid guy. He was like, hey, this is not okay. This is not the agreement. The agreement is that you and your security team can bypass security. And now you're just bringing whoever you want with you. And we went through security, and I was on patrol this night. I was there. We went through security and identified her 2 sons and kicked them out and made them go back around. And I bet he got fucked for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, I used to be a U.S. Marshal. Like, part of my fucking job was being armed on aircrafts. And like, the process to bypass airport security, even for a fucking armed federal agent that is going to be on duty on that plane. And even when you're flying for pleasure, they want marshals being on duty on flights because they want more armed presence on flights. It is what it is. It's a long process. And you have to have a UFAN, and you have to check in, and you have to, like, everything is planned out. You have to meet with the pilots. Like, it's a process, not just fucking free for all. But these motherfuckers just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm going off on another tangent.
I know.
It's what I do. But, so you voiced displeasure to the mayor's policies.
Yeah, I called out the mayor that, you know, spineless. You know, you need to get this city in order. These people deserve to live and work in peace and not have all their crap ripped off all the time. Be able to operate their business and go to school and catch a bus safely, you know? And then we've got this called out the city council because they're a bunch of extremists, which they are.
Fucking insane. There's a part of me that says if you voted these people in, fuck you. You reap what you sow, though, too.
Well, there's Sarah Nelson. She owns a brewery in Ballard. And I like her. She had a lot of homeless issues around her brewery a couple years ago. Whoops.
Dropping shit.
But I mean, by and large, it is just, It's crazy. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. So I called that out. And then I called out Diaz himself and the people that he surrounds himself with.
And that's the chief of police for Seattle, for people that are curious.
Yeah.
And he's a little fat pussy, just like you would expect him to be.
And he just, the people that he only wants like thinkers, right? So if you are any kind of dissenting voice or disagree or have a better plan or something, you're demoted, thrown out, you're silenced, you're, and there's a bunch of captains that have been thrown out into Area 51, and that's where we call the black hole.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's not even him. He just does what he's fucking told. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's just a little fucking pussy.
Well, actually,
minion.
I think, if it's within the department, well, I don't know.
No, I'm not saying that he doesn't make the calls to fuck good people, but I'm saying like it's very clear that he was appointed to just do what you're told.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
That motherfucker ain't gonna stand up.
No.
And dude, I can tell a man's a certain amount of his courage and his worth just based on his fucking physical presence. And when I saw that guy, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, dude.
Well, I think the other thing
that's Job of the Hut looking fuck, dude.
I think a lot of the problem too is that somehow Seattle has gone from promoting the normal way, which is officer, sergeant, lieutenant, captain. You do a great job as captain, then you get to assistant chief. From assistant chief, maybe you make deputy chief, and then you make chief. Maybe.
So shocking. There's a process.
There is a process, but we seem to have forgotten that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're promoting people straight from lieutenant to assistant chief.
Is that what he was prior to?
He was lieutenant, went to assistant chief, then went directly to deputy chief, and then a chief.
What was
But he's not the only one. I mean, he's not the only one that has happened to, but it happened again just recently. And I'm like,
it's just their way of ensuring that who they want to be in power are in power.
Yes.
Who was the chief that Diaz replaced?
Kerman.
Yes. Now, she was kind of put in a bad spot, yeah?
She was put in a bad spot, and, I really like her.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've heard, and that's why I'm bringing that up, because I've heard a lot of people say, like, no, she was a good person, and they were trying to fuck her.
I really like her. I don't know if she had a lot of street experience from what I've heard. I don't know, because that was before my time. But her leadership and how much she cared for her people was night and day from what we have now. The problem is that Diaz was like a third arm on her. It was the weirdest situation.
What, just following her around?
Everywhere she was, he was. And that's how he got into his spot. It's because she put him there. But I genuinely like her. I think she is a very good person. I think.
Why did she ultimately leave?
Because during the defunding the police thing, they were going to have to lay off officers, which meant they were going to have to, take the most recent hires, right? Which were, young BIPOC officers. And she's like, this is not right. I can't do this. This goes against every fiber of my being. I'm not going to do it, as a good leader should do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what, Diaz should have done when they were forcing this vaccine on people.
When you say BIPOC officers, did Seattle literally have like a different hiring process to have like more diversity in the department?
No, I don't think that. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think that they had a different hiring process,
or some sort of percentage or whatever. Like, I know that there's different things that give you like points?
Well, I don't know because I'm, if I had got female points, I don't know.
Okay.
And maybe I did get female points, and I've never wanted female points. And if I got female points, that pisses me off.
As it should.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I made lieutenant, there was a guy underneath me on the list who absolutely should have been promoted. Absolutely. He should not have been skipped at all. He was on SWAT. He's very smart. He's very articulate. He's very kind. He is very tactical. I mean, he knows his shit inside and out. Right? And because they didn't like him, or there was a personality conflict, they killed him on the list. And that's what they do.
Of course, that's what they do. Yeah, of course.
And I don't know if they promoted me because there was a spot, or they promoted me because I was a female. And if they promoted, and I kind of think they promoted me because I was a female. And if that's the case, that pisses me off. I don't want separate rules.
No. That's what, like, the real fucking people doing the job. They all feel this way.
Yeah, I just want to be treated.
No one wants to get a pass because their mom's black, or because they're a woman, or because of this, or because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to be promoted because I was the best and I earned it.
Because as soon as you get promoted because you're a woman, you know what that's really telling everybody? Is that you're less capable.
I agree.
That's the message. And that's why it's fucked up.
I agree. Because there's no reason why he shouldn't have been promoted. And they just didn't promote him because somebody somewhere didn't like him.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's messed up.
When you called out the chief of police, are there any specifics that come to mind? Because the reason I'm saying this is because your letter, obviously, it wasn't just a manifesto or a rant, because it wouldn't be on fucking Fox News if that was the case. There's obviously a lot of validity to it because it's fucking ruffling people's feathers right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, it's my truth.
Yeah.
You know? It's just weak leadership, and the officers are getting run ragged. They're tired. They're exhausted. The leadership's so bad you can't even hire people. Nobody wants to come to work here.
And that's the case for a lot of departments. That's the case for the profession in Washington.
Yeah, and they get paid well. I mean,
what's entry level for Seattle now?
I don't know. I was making
north of 100K. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was making a ridiculous amount of money, and I couldn't. It's not. I'm not willing to sell my soul for, you know.
Yeah, for the shit that they.
No, for money.
Because I know you left shortly after the Chop Chaz stuff, but what was the temperature in the department when we're literally told shut down your precinct and flee? Like what the fuck are we talking about?
Well, you know, the story that surrounds that is so interesting because they're like intentionally trying to confuse people, making it sound like it was this mad rush of people, of protesters trying to take over this building. And that wasn't the case. We abandoned the damn building. And
that was under the order of the chief of police at the time?
It came from somewhere. I think it either came from
the governor's office, probably.
No, I don't.
No? Okay.
I don't think he's that smart. I really don't. I don't think he really.
I think that motherfucker has his little dick beaters and more than we think, though.
Well, if you. Yeah, we'll get back to that.
Okay.
But, I was going to say follow the money. If you follow the money and you go back through public records and stuff, you can see where all the money is coming from and where their kids are employed and that kind of stuff. You can can deduce what's really going on in that situation.
So who ultimately made that call? Do you know?
I don't know. I
can't remember hearing if it was within the department or city leadership. Like it was the mayor?
Well, I think it was kind of like a combo of like a huddle kind of situation.
and then just give up a couple city blocks to these fucking lunatics?
Well, it was more than a couple city blocks because, you know, they take over a couple city blocks, but you still need to get in there, get past their security that now they have with AK-47s and stuff. It was just the craziest.
I wanted to go down there and shoot those guys.
I mean, they're taking guns out of the trunks of the car. And then, you know, all of a sudden we're trying to make deals with these people and stuff. I mean, what?
Yeah, what the fuck are we talking about?
What is this? And then they're getting employed by the city. I mean, just all sorts of just crazy. I've never gotten in trouble. I mean, you know, as a kid, I maybe got in trouble, but I mean, I've never been like in.
Are you saying as professionally?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I don't get in trouble. I mean, I've been to, you know, OPA as a witness and stuff on several occasions and stuff, but I don't do bad things. And here these people are that are literally like felons making more money than I do as somebody who enforces the law for the city.
No, when you say these people got hired, I'm just not familiar. What was that process?
I don't know.
But
all of a sudden, like, we've got this person that's like supposed to be the liaison for something.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
And they're thugs.
Yeah, like pimps or something. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what the fuck are we talking about?
What is this? I mean, the whole thing is just crazy. It's crazy. I'm like, are we a police department? What are we? I don't even know what we are.
So, I mean,
am I supposed to listen to this guy?
Yeah. The answer is fuck no, you're not supposed to.
Well, Well, yeah, right.
After the George Floyd thing popped off and all this crazy shit started happening, you guys were kind of like pulling from the port as well for like riot control and shit like that.
Oh, we were pulling mutual aid from everywhere.
Yeah. And so like a lot of my buddies that were still at the port were going up there and being part of these different, you know, protest lines and shit. And my buddy wrote me, and he's fucking high ranking. Like he's way up there now. I'm not going to say his name on the air, but he's like, bro, he goes, I never served in combat like you did, but I think I know what it feels like now. He's like, these motherfuckers were throwing Molotov cocktails at us and we were told we couldn't do anything. And I'm like, dude, if another man throws a Molotov cocktail at me under any circumstances, I don't care if I'm wearing the uniform and I'm on duty. I don't care if I'm out to ice cream with my fucking family. You throw a Molotov cocktail at me, you're getting shot in the motherfucking face.
I think that people
like, what the fuck, dude?
What people don't realize is you only just see, of course, the snippets and what's sensational, and that's the police lobbing these, you know, glass balls or whatever, right? But what you don't see are the jars of pee getting thrown on the officers, feces, you're getting M80s thrown at you.
They're lighting your cars on fire.
They're lighting your cars on fire. They're barricading you inside the building.
And these are just fucking thugs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they didn't. And
these aren't like normal protesters. I mean, no. I am all about, you know, your right to protest.
Of course. Everybody's about that.
Yeah. I mean, I support that 100%.
And I'm also support people's rights to protest with violence if what they're protesting is directed at the people that need violence perpetrated against them. I have no problem if you want to call January 6th an insurrection, you fucking retards. I would have no problem watching the nightly news and watching a platoon-sized element storm some capitol and drag these motherfuckers out, because there's people that deserve that. But for goons that are just opportunists to cause chaos in the streets and hurt human beings and fuck their businesses up and damage their property and light places on fire, those people should have been met with deadly force. And I've said it 100 times on the show. If a brick comes through that window right now and I go outside and there's a group of people that are like, we're mad about this, so we're going to burn your building down. Motherfucker, you're dying. And if the cops don't like that, fuck you too. And it's shocking to me that all the business owners just let their businesses burn down. It's like, again, no one's coming to save you. You know what I mean? And the cops weren't even allowed to save them. The cops were basically told to just stand there, be a presence, but they weren't actively fucking.
And that's what happened when we gave up the precinct is you can't respond from there anymore, right? You can't even get into the chop zone because, A, you don't have enough people. Everybody's exhausted. You've already been working on blue gold.
What's that mean?
That means that you switched. You have 12 hours in the day and then a whole another platoon, 12 hours at night with no days off.
Okay. Yeah.
So everybody, if we had just, I don't know. Yeah. You can't respond in there with no people in that kind of hostile situation. I mean, you have to have a tactical plan of some sort, or your officers are going to get hurt. But in my opinion, abandoning that precinct was the worst idea, not only for the cops, but the citizens and the business owners.
Yeah. And
I mean, the people that had taken up camp at this Chaz place were checking IDs to let people into their own. What?
Yeah.
No.
That all comes back down to the fucking citizens too, though. Like, if you're going to let another man ID you to go into your business, I'm kind of the mindset, good. What a fucking bitch, dude. Hey, I know you live here. I know this is your business, but I set up a checkpoint in front of it and now I'm in charge of you. I'll fucking kill you. And if more people had some courage, that shit wouldn't happen. But nope. They'll just do what the government says. They'll just do what the police say. They'll just do what the fucking media says. And now they'll even do what some fucking goon that just sets up a checkpoint in their neighborhood says. People are so fucking cowardly. It drives me crazy, dude.
I know. I'm like reading this going, excuse me? Like,
yeah.
No, absolutely not. And, even like going into Petco or whatever, put your mask on. No,
dude.
No.
The mask thing's kind of coming back. Have you noticed?
Yes.
What's up with that? Did Fauci just say to put your mask back on or something?
Fauci is out.
Okay.
Fauci's out and now, right? Isn't he?
I don't fucking know.
I don't even know because I don't even care because it's all.
But
it's just all BS.
What I've noticed just from personal observations, you go into the grocery store, there's a bunch of people masked up again.
Yeah, I know. I think it's because they're scaring everybody with malaria and Marburg.
Yeah, because masks stop malaria, huh? Is it in case a mosquito bites your lip? Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Well, Gates did make those
mosquitoes.
Those mosquitoes.
Dude, I'm to the point now where I won't talk to you if you have a mask on. Like I used to, and maybe I'm just getting old and fucking bitter, but I used to be like, live and let live, right? And I still am. Like, you want to be a fucking idiot and vaccinate your kids and put 10 boosters in a 10-year-old and wear your fucking mask, then go ahead. But we got nothing to say to each other.
Yeah, we're not the same.
We're not the fucking same. And to the point where it's like, I haven't had this come up in a while because it seems like the mask mandate, the whole mask debacle seemed to kind of come to an end. But even when it was first kicking off, like my gym was always mask free.
Yeah.
You come here, you want to train, cool. Now, some parents would come in with masks on while their kids trained. And it's like, okay.
But logically, that makes absolutely zero sense.
Of course it makes zero sense. You're so afraid of getting sick. You're so afraid of getting sick. You're going to go to a gym where we lay on top of each other and choke each other.
And your kid is exposed.
And you live with that kid.
And your kid is going home.
It's so fucking stupid.
It is so stupid.
And it was to the point where I was like, because we had to say to some parents, hey, kids can't train with masks on here.
No.
Because
it's not safe.
Exactly. I don't know. What I do know is fighting is one of the most tasking physical exercises you can put your body through.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing it for 20 fucking years. And restricting your breathing while you're fighting, it just didn't seem like a good idea. So if you're gonna train here, you can't have a mask on. But for a parent,
but then they're all like this. They've got their masks like this.
Oh yeah, I know, dude. And now it's to the point where it's like I just can't be around those people. You know,
I'm like
you're at a restaurant and they come up to take your order and they'll, I'm out of here, dude. Fuck you.
Remember, so I was living in Puyallup at the time, and there's this one guy who used to work for, he either worked for Pierce County or he worked for Lakewood. I can't remember, but he owns Muscle Maker Grill down there.
Okay.
Ryan. And he stayed open the entire time.
Good for him.
And you didn't have to wear a mask there. He would let you eat in there. He's like, I'm not playing by this. And then, and he was always busy because like-minded people attract like-minded people, right?
Yep.
And so slowly you would start to see it down in Pierce County, where people were like, this is dumb. We're not doing this. But then as soon as you cross over into King County.
Yeah, it's all back.
It's all back.
Fucking brainwashed idiots.
I'm like,
you know what I've noticed lately is it's like young people. Like late teens, early 20s. And they're all masked up again. And it's just like, fuck, man.
Are we missing something?
Apparently,
because I noticed it on the plane too, but I just assumed that it's the plane and people are paranoid, But I'm like,
but this is how you know.
I'm sitting there going like, fresh air's gonna get you.
This is how you know they're full of shit, though. This is how you know, is that if you were so afraid of COVID, like if you believe the narrative that it's this dangerous and I'm protecting everybody and I don't want my grandmother to get sick and die, like you wouldn't go to Vegas for a weekend in Vegas. Like what's more important, your fucking grandma or your weekend at the Luxor? So, you know what? I'm still going to go to Vegas and I'm still going to get drunk and I'm still going to gamble. I'm still going to fucking do all these things, but I'm just going to wear a mask while I do it.
I know.
So that it's proving you're full of shit, because if you prioritized your health and you believed the narrative, then you simply would exclude yourself from these behaviors. Exactly like the parents sitting in the jiu-jitsu academy, like what the fuck are we doing here? And it's, the mask very quickly became a way of signaling what team you're on.
Yes. And it also demonstrated how far can they control your behavior?
Yeah.
If you're willing to do this, then we can get you to do this. And if you're willing to do this, then we can get you to do that.
Why do you think they backed off of everything?
That's a really good question.
Do you think it was calculated? Or do you think they just started seeing enough pushback that they're like, hey, we better regroup because the wheels are about to fall off?
Well, I think people started waking up, right? Because it was like, this isn't making any sense. But also people are getting really sick and dying.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a red flag. I mean, I said it in my letter, but I said, at the point where we've got lottery tickets and French fries and hamburger incentives.
It was so stupid.
It was the dumbest. I'm like, that is the biggest red flag I have ever seen in my life. And you guys still pushed it.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom, the California vaccination lottery. Were they getting like $250,000 or some crazy shit?
I'm like, that just screams agenda on it, doesn't it?
You don't have to try and sell good.
No.
Good sells itself.
Yes.
Because people have the ability to be intuitive and know if what you're selling is bullshit or not. You don't have to incentivize good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for people to have to be told like, hey, do this and then you can go get a hamburger. You are literally appealing to the dumbest members of society.
Or you can hug your family, but only through a shower curtain.
You know what?
And people did that. People did it.
I know.
mean, why did they do that?
I honestly think the only reason I'm here is by fucking the grace of God, because I was never put in a scenario like I didn't lose a parent during the pandemic or a loved one or God forbid. I mean, you saw some terrible stories like sick children and stuff. It's like, motherfucker, if you think you're not going to let me hug my teenage daughter goodbye who's dying of cancer, I will kill every single person in the hospital.
Well, I mean, and I know that COVID was real and there were people that were getting sick. Now, I'm of the opinion that it's a bioweapon, but that's just me.
Oh, no, that's not an opinion anymore.
Yeah.
That's in Fauci's email that it was made in a lab.
Yeah.
And he acknowledged that almost immediately. Almost immediately.
Yeah, it was a gain of function.
The reason I like to bring that up is because I got berated by a bunch of faggots saying, you just work out for a living. How could you say that you think it's created in a lab? You don't understand the molecular makeup. No, dummy, I don't. But I do understand that it was found right outside of the coronavirus lab in Wuhan. You know, and if you question that, there's something wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
And then here we are 3 years later. They found and recovered the emails where Fauci's talking to his fucking cronies, acknowledging, hey, it looks like the molecular makeup of this, it does look like it was made in the lab way early on.
Yeah.
And you don't want to acknowledge that publicly because it might hurt your agenda.
And I guarantee you,
wood chipper, off with your head, motherfucker.
I guarantee you there are many more labs just like that.
Of course there are. And you know what? The next one might be fucking actually bad.
Yeah.
You know, this one only affected you.
Well, this one was like the dry run. See how far they could get you to comply.
Yep.
And, you know, how far they can push us into 15-minute cities and digital currencies. You know, it's all, they tell you, they straight up tell you, the WEF will tell you, you know, the WHO will tell you, they don't hide it.
No.
At all.
I played a thing on the show the other day that's talking about the 2025 contagion, Sears 2025.
Yeah, and that's been out for...
We're doing dry runs. This isn't a real virus. This is just a potential, or this is just an exercise that we're running in case this were to happen.
Well, yeah, and then we had the exercise.
They did the exact same thing with COVID.
Yeah, exact same thing with Event 201. It
Yeah.
was exactly the same. And they did the exact same thing with the cyber attack, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I fully think there's going to be a massive EMP.
That's your prediction?
That's my prediction.
How far out? Do you think it'll be before the election? That's Andy Frisella's prediction.
Yeah, I think it'll be.
Will get thrown before the next
Operation
presidential.
Blue Beam too.
Unpack that for me.
Operation Blue Beam is hologram technology.
Oh, with the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is like our fucking government is like so mistrusted now, and like everyone thinks they're so full of shit that there was literally a congressional hearing 2 weeks ago where they're like, yeah, we have aliens.
No,
under oath, fucking on nightly news. No one gives a fuck, dude.
No, nobody.
Oh, you got aliens? All right.
All right.
Cool. And it's just because we can't trust anything that comes out of their mouth, right?
Absolutely nothing. I have to verify it myself, and everybody should do the same. Do not believe anything.
But B, if they've had aliens for 50 fucking years and haven't, you don't get to know about the aliens just because you're a little minion. But us super important people that work at the Pentagon, we get to have information on aliens. Like, the U.S. government works for us, motherfucker. I get the understanding of OPSEC, operational security. Yeah. I was in special operations. If we're going to go do a fucking raid of some compound, okay, loose lips sink ships. Yes. I get all that, right? But that doesn't mean you just get to indefinitely withhold information from your fucking people because I don't think they can handle it. You know, like, so now here we are 50 years later, and you just want to finally admit that, oh, we have aliens.
The craziness about all this is all old technology.
Mm-hmm.
This has all been around for decades and decades. And even what's going on down in Antarctica, you know, what all that secret business too, that's been going on for decades and decades. People think that they can't start earthquakes and hurricanes, and yeah, they can.
I don't know about all that stuff, but I do know a lot of my buddies that are dialing into that stuff. Antarctica is a hot topic.
Yes.
You know?
Because yeah.
I want to go to Antarctica and climb Vincent Massif, which is a giant mountain down there.
Good luck.
And that's what my buddy told me. I said, good luck.
Good luck.
You know? But it's just too fucking expensive.
Yeah.
That's the downside of climbing mountains.
Yeah. And, you know, you have to get there. You have to get special permissions and all this kind of stuff to even get there.
What do you think's going on in Antarctica then? I'm curious.
Well,
because I don't know what's going on in Antarctica.
They have, I think they have some huge, like, harp type thing, where with rods going down in the ground where they can stimulate earthquakes. And I truly believe that, and I know people are going to think I'm nuts, and that's okay. But I have researched this crap inside and out for years now.
Well, here's the thing, man.
I mean, nothing. If you think about everything, I mean, just critically think about it, right? Like the Maui police chief was also the police chief in Vegas.
For the shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
Does that not even raise and pique your interest at all? I mean, how does...
Certainly strange.
It's certainly strange, isn't it?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like,
I don't believe in coincidences.
Maybe you are crazy and thinking all this fucking... They're in Antarctica starting fucking earthquakes. But this is what I always say on the show. Stop hearing people say these things that you interpret as crazy and just write them off, because the truth is stranger than fiction.
It is.
And we're starting to find that out. And that's not me saying there's rods in Antarctica causing earthquakes, but if that were to come out tomorrow,
it wouldn't surprise you.
It wouldn't surprise me. So I take everything now, literally everything, with a grain of salt, because the government has proven that they lie, they manipulate, they steal, they launder, they do all the bad shit.
Yeah.
And so when other people come up with theories based on, like you said, fucking lots of people doing years of research and come to conclusions that sound crazy, well, I don't know anymore.
Right.
You know?
And that's what, you know.
You said it earlier. Like, if you would have told me this 3 years ago, I would have told you you're crazy.
Well, I watched this miniseries called Ancient Civilizations. Have you seen it yet?
I did. I saw the episode on Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Fascinating, right?
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, hey, Göbekli Tepe is not a conspiracy
No,
theorist.
it's not.
That's a city that was built like 12,000 years ago using massive amounts of technology that we don't even have anymore.
That is beyond our comprehension.
Do you know what I think? You want to talk about fucking crazy fucking people and conspiracy theories? I think the ancient civilizations knew how to use sound to levitate
frequency.
things.
Yes,
frequency. And now they're starting, and there's you can fucking Google this shit.
That is why all the capitals in the nation or around the world have the, you know, the, what do you call the dome thing? I forget what that thing's called. The dome, and there's squares up in there because it resonates the sound.
Mm-hmm.
And every capital has it. And these people were communicating across the world somehow.
I think that, you know, it's Graham Hancock, right? The one that talks about the cataclysmic event that happened, I think, like 12,800 years ago.
Yeah.
That really wiped out a massive part of civilization, and humanity basically started over.
Yes.
And who would,
But I don't think that's the only time it has started over.
No, I wouldn't doubt that either. But if you think about it, from the inception of, not when we were Australopithecus or like Neanderthal, but like the modern man, who is evolving rapidly, and there's technology is on a fucking exponential rate, right?
Right.
What's the chances if we ran this experiment back to back to back that we would come to the same conclusions every time? It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So there was a civilization at some point that went down a different technological path, and they learned how to use acoustics to move material.
And they knew water, and they knew how to use air and everything that we have.
I'm going to show you. Let's see if I can pull this up while we're actually on the air. It was a video that I sent to my friends on Instagram. And because it's on Instagram, it has to be real, right?
Right.
But where is it at here? It's very fascinating because, again, what's real, what's not, I don't fucking know. But if you look at this video, man, we send each other so much shit on this thread.
Don't ever put me in a text thread.
Now you want nothing to do with that?
Absolutely. You can never get out.
I know. And
you're like,
and you know what's fucked up? If you see your own way out, it sends everyone else in the thread a little notification
that you bailed. So and
so left. Yeah. All right, so I just talked all that shit and I can't find it. But it was a video of a bunch of speakers in a like they built them in this circle, and they could put a rock in the center and play a frequency that would hold the rock in the position. So they're defying gravity with acoustics. Mm-hmm. And the rock was literally like the size of a Skittle, right? Little tiny rock. It doesn't matter if it's a Skittle or if it's 10,000 pounds.
No, it doesn't.
Once the technology exists, now it exists. Now what can we do with that, right?
Well, we can build pyramids.
We can build pyramids. Exactly. And it's fascinating.
It was
and dude, like, and that's cool, right?
Yeah, like that's cool.
Like, I don't think that should be something that people hear and like, those guys are nuts. Like, no. If humanity did this at some point, let's figure out how to do it again.
There's no explanation, reasonable explanation.
Slave labor.
How any of that happened at such precision.
Yeah.
There is just no way. And these
moving rocks, because I mean, they found the quarries of where all of these rocks came from.
Right.
And like, come on.
They're like, what, 5,000 miles away or something? You're going to tell me you pulled, 20 tons of rock on a sled?
Yeah.
And then somehow get it up? No.
And the tolerances in which some of these structures are built are tighter than modern day skyscrapers.
Yes.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
that's
that
cool.
whole series.
What was it called again? I forget. It was
Ancient Civilizations.
Okay.
And it's on Netflix.
Yeah. And some of them were like, they just looked like mountains down in like South America or whatever.
Well, like in the 7th episode, they actually talk about Washington.
Oh, the
over by where I am.
By Yakima, the big floods and stuff.
Yeah, the floods with the what are those pillar?
I haven't seen that one. I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating about the flood and taking out everything. And
humans are weird, man. How we want to always make our era or our period like the most important.
We're just a blip.
A fucking blip.
We are just a blip. We are nobody.
And it's cool. Yeah, that's so cool.
I mean, when you think 11,700 years ago, I've only been here 53.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and this has been going on, just repeating.
Yeah. Do you think we're repeating ourselves?
I think we're repeating.
I know you want everyone to hear this and say, those people are nuts, right?
I know.
I tell you what, and I know I'm fucking crazy sometimes. But if you see right here, that sword that I have in my office, it's a exact replica of William Wallace's sword from Braveheart.
Uh-huh.
I pick that thing up and it just feels right in my hands. And I'm like, at some point in time, I was beheading motherfuckers with this thing. I know it, right? And here's the thing. I went and got a Reiki massage.
Yeah.
This chick knows nothing about my fucking belief that I'm a fucking like reincarnated warrior, right? She knows nothing about my crazy brain. And she feels my rib right here and she goes, oh, yep, that's right where you were killed in a past life. You took a sword right through here. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And then part of me is like, yes, you're damn right I did, dude.
No, I mean, this sounds so crazy. And you can't even say this out loud around like people that aren't like-minded like us, because it just sounds so bananas, right? But have you seen that movie? Something about the eye. Oh my God, it was so good. I don't know. I'll text it to you later. But
Okay.
it's just about, how you can just recognize just through the eyes the soul of somebody who has already come and gone at least once. It is just, yes.
There is definitely something to this that is beyond what we can comprehend with our five senses.
Yes.
And that's not something that's, in my opinion, is up for debate. And, a lot of people will reject the theory of past lives or reincarnation because it contradicts some of their religious beliefs.
Sure.
And here's the thing. I am never the person that says what I'm telling you is right. I'm just saying, I believe that there's something infinite about the soul that I think we do have the potential to live lives on multiple times throughout history.
We could be living in 2 timelines right now.
Yeah. Now we're getting crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we really could be. We don't know, but I do know that something is truly, truly off right now.
So when I went, are you familiar with ayahuasca? Have you heard of that?
Isn't that mushroom?
It's not mushrooms. It's actually it's DMT, but it's a plant called ayahuasca, which grows in the jungle.
Yeah, from South America. Right?
And it's a very like divine, powerful hallucinogenic drug that the natives used to use for like ceremony, and now it's becoming a bigger thing in the Western world, really helping people with depression, addiction, PTSD, all that stuff. So I went down to the jungle last year and did some ayahuasca ceremonies way out in the jungles of Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. As soon as I showed up, there was this girl at the retreat, and I looked at her from across the room, and she worked there. She wasn't somebody that was coming down to do the retreat like I was. Uh-huh. And I looked at her and I was like,
I know you.
I know you.
Yeah.
I don't know how I know you, but you know how you get that with people, right? And then fast forward like 4 days, and we drink the tea. We're out in the jungle. It's pouring rain. We built this big fire, and everybody goes inside the temple because it's pouring rain outside.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'm like, I'm not going in the jungle.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going inside. I'm out in the fucking elements.
Yeah.
High as fuck, like loving this experience. And this girl brings the same chick. I hadn't talked to her or seen her again. Walks up to me, and she also drank the tea. And she brings me this like bowl of fruit. And she goes, I feel like she's like, you're out here, you're expressing your masculinity. It's very powerful. And I just wanted to bring you an offering. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And I look at her and I was like, where do I know you from? And she goes, oh, we know each other deeply. She goes, I've known you for many lives, but this is our first time meeting this life. And then that was it. The same fucking chick. And you know what? I corroborated it with my buddies that went down there with me, though. Because after that first little meeting we had, we went back to our room. I said, you guys see that girl? And I described what she looked like. I'm like, I fucking know her somehow, and I can't put my finger on it. Then that same girl comes up to me, and I didn't preface anything about it. And she says, we've known each other for multiple lives. There's some weird shit going on.
Yes, I'm telling you, that is real.
That's,
and I've never done drugs, and I am telling you,
you should.
as real as day.
Drugs are fun.
That is real.
It's real, you know?
And people think we're crazy, and that's fine.
Nah, I think more and more people are starting to open up to, because the reality of the world that we've lived in is, for the majority of modern times, we have kind of been just, you know, there's a cookie cutter approach to life. You do this, you get married, you have kids, you go to work, blah, 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 blah.
And then you die.
That's been happening for hundreds of years, really.
Yeah.
You know? Now
because we're like cattle. They have us convinced that we're like cattle. We're issued our social security numbers. You pay your taxes. You do this. And you're basically just labor.
And I think more and more people are waking up and realizing we're actually, like, each individual, a divine, powerful, spiritual being. And the reason that I know this is true, is because over the last couple of years, when I put love and power and energy into things, it fucking works.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And it's like, you could, maybe the power of manifestation is simply something we hold within us, or maybe we have the ability to affect physical outcomes with how we the energy that we project outward. I don't understand it, but I do know that there's something to it. And more people are starting to realize it too.
Yes. And I think that the sooner that everybody realizes that, the sooner we get out of this mess that we're in. I
think they keep everybody in a mess. And this goes way back to our early part of the conversation where I said, is it intentional or incompetence? When people are in a triggered state and they're mad and they're broke and they're scared and they're fearful, they never get to express the powerful being inside of them.
Yes.
They're like, that side of them gets locked in a cage and they never really get to express who they are. And the powerful elitists of our society, that's exactly what they want. They don't want you to be the most powerful version of yourself. That is why everybody's fat and sick and addicted to drugs. And 10 seconds ago, I said drugs are good, but it's like anything in life. It's nuanced. I tell my kids, if I catch you smoking marijuana or trying psilocybin, we're going to sit down, we're going to have a talk about it. If I catch you doing methamphetamine, I'm going to chain you to your fucking bed. Because there's different, and you and I got a front row seat to it.
Oh, I've got a, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
To it, yeah.
Like we know some things are extremely destructive.
Yeah.
Other things aren't, you know? Like, why was marijuana outlawed for so long and alcohol was celebrated? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I worked for the port, so I didn't have residential jurisdiction. You did. I bet if you went back to your calls for service over your, 23-year career, how many of them were tied to violence caused by alcohol? Thousands. You know?
And I had an alcoholic mother, you know, that died of alcohol. And so I was really, really sensitive to it. So, I mean, I just do not like being around drunk people.
I don't either.
I really don't. And so
I shouldn't say I don't either. It just has to be the right people.
Right.
And for me, I went out and had 2 whiskeys with dinner with Jenny and Ange, literally Sunday night. This is the first drinks I've had in probably 2 months. Yeah. And I was pretty drunk from 2 glasses of whiskey.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I don't drink hardly at all.
But I paid the price the next day. You know what I mean? And so it's like anything in life. You can have a balanced approach to it and have it be part of your life, but most people can't succeed in any type of balance, and they fall out of balance, and then alcohol ruins their fucking life.
And that's what happened to my mom.
So there's a drug out there that traditionally and statistically ruins your life, and it's available in every fucking corner store, and it's celebrated at every fucking sporting event.
And it's open during COVID.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep.
You can't go to the gym, but you can go buy your marijuana or your alcohol.
I'll tell you what, I've told the story on the podcast 1,000 times, but you know what was the straw that broke the camel's back for me? Was the tags on my truck expired right at the beginning of COVID. And I was like, do I need to renew them? Well, I'm sure the fucking licensing place is not open. So, and I was like, you know what though? And my wheels were starting to turn, you know, I was like, I'm going to call them and just see if they're deemed essential. And I called and they're like, hello. I was like, Oh, you guys are open? Oh yeah, we're essential. I was like, thank you, goodbye. And then at that moment, a little green sticker is essential because the government gets 85 of your dollars. But anything else is fucking deadly. Stay home and stay safe. All right, I'm done. I'm done with your game. That was it for me.
Yeah,
dude. You need your green sticker on your car. It might kill you, but you fucking need it.
Yeah.
You know?
I just can't believe now looking back on it, it's even worse than when we were going through it. You know, if you really sit and you.
Oh, I'm ashamed of myself at times. Like I have to give myself a pass because it's the first time I've had the government launch a fucking like an attack. You know what I'm saying? Against the people that I was a victim. Right?
Yeah, we're like we the people. Like,
so, like
stand up, we the people.
Sorry, it took me as long as it did. But no, there's times when like memories will come up on Facebook.
And you're like, oh,
what the fuck, dude? You know, and it's like something about the pandemic, like, and I never bought off on the bullshit or like perpetuated it online because I'm very careful about that stuff. Just like I didn't put a black square on my Instagram when George Floyd got killed. Like everybody just jumps on the current thing, you know? But I remember like some posts that were like just me sharing thoughts and I could tell like, oh, I didn't see the bullshit yet. Mm-hmm. You didn't know yet, you know?
Yeah.
And then I posted something like a week before my video went viral, and it was just me, a picture of my arm holding a literal scroll, a copy of the U.S. Constitution. Yeah. And I said something along the lines like, these are my fucking travel papers, motherfucker. Because remember, they were asking cops to see, Washington didn't do it. Like I never heard of people being commissioned under the state of Washington having to do this. But I knew a guy in Vegas who'd been stopped on his way to work like 3 times to confirm he was essential. And I was like, is this 1930s Nazi Germany? Like
that is just, that's.
Can you imagine doing that?
No, absolutely not.
Like it's insane.
That's like, no.
Did you ever work any patrol shifts right at the beginning of the lockdowns?
Well, I was a lieutenant then.
Does that mean you were in, okay, so yeah, not necessarily like patrol officer, but did you, as a lieutenant, did you ever go out in a car and drive around and do that and like do any of that stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the South End. There's shootings and stabbings all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I tell people about being on patrol during like the peak of the lockdown. And I remember standing at the Ferris wheel downtown Seattle.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see a soul anywhere. And it felt like one of those apocalypse zombie movies.
Well, it still feels like that.
Nuts, dude.
Well, now in downtown Seattle, it is like the apocalypse. Like there's abandoned buildings, but it's like there's zombies everywhere.
Yeah, literal zombies.
Yeah, like not even joking.
No, it's very strange watching the progression of people's brains deteriorate once they are addicted to heroin and methamphetamine. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sure you've had the exact same experiences as me. Where you make an arrest for, it's usually, when it's drug stuff, it's usually warrant related. Yeah. You know? And they're in the back of your police car and they seem like you and I sitting down having a conversation. They seem sharp. They seem articulate. They seem kind. And I remember this one girl, I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. I was like, everything about you seems pleasant and you seem super smart. Like, what are you doing? And she goes, yeah, my husband's an engineer at Boeing or something. We upper middle class. I have 3 kids. She goes like, I was a stay-at-home mom. We're a very successful family. And I got hurt and got on blah, blah, blah. And when my prescription ran out, I turned to street drugs because I was already addicted. And there's nothing I can do about it. And my husband threw me out, said, I can't have you around the kids anymore like this. And now I'm living on the streets addicted to heroin. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it?
And then I've also had people.
I've had some cop friends that happened to. Yeah, and now they're dead. Nuts. Yeah.
And then I've also had people that are like, and you're like, hey, this is a trespass call. You can't be here. And they just look at you like,
you're like,
and I'm like, and they're like sores and missing teeth and blood on them and shit. And I'm like, oh, this is literally a zombie, you know?
I know.
The one person that I'm thinking about who's literally, you know where, I think Pier 69, the Port of Seattle's pier downtown?
Yeah.
He was standing right at the door of that. And they called because the port doesn't play the bullshit. Get him off our property.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
And he was just standing there like growling and drooling and shit. And I was like, okay, we're not even communicating right now.
Yeah.
And I also,
I don't know
and
what I'm supposed to do
and
here.
it's like, I know I'm a good fighter. I've been fighting for 20 years. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I don't want to touch you under any circumstances.
No.
Yeah, you know?
Right. No.
And so I was like, okay, if this guy ends up attacking me, I'm just going to fucking like push kick him in his chest and knock him down.
Yeah.
But I'm not even going to make the arrest. There's a 0% chance that this thing would get accepted by King County Jail.
Right. And that's
and I ain't sitting on him at Harborview.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the other part of the problem, right? Is like the jail won't accept, and they know it.
Oh, you want to know the pro tip if you don't want to go to jail? Say you're suicidal.
Yeah, you're suicidal or you have abscesses.
Yeah. And then they'll say, oh, we need a medical clearance. And then you have to take them up the street to Harborview.
Which takes like 8 hours.
And outside of something that's felonious, your sergeant's just going to say, cut him.
Yeah.
I can't sit on a dude for 6 hours for a car prowl. Cut him. And
I don't think people understand that.
I wouldn't even take him in. I would literally pull up to Harborview, open the back door of my patrol car and say, it's your lucky day, motherfucker. See ya.
Yeah. Report to the jail when you're done.
Yeah. That's literally how it works, though. Yeah. Like people that don't understand how the system works, you arrest someone for a crime, you write your probable cause statement, which outlines what crime you think they committed and why, and the facts and circumstances surrounding that. Then you take that document to the jail, and outside of something egregious, a lot of the criminals know how to work the system.
Oh, they 150%. Yeah.
And even the ones that do get booked, they're usually out the next day just based on the system. But the ones that know how to play the game, they get out before they even get booked.
Yeah.
It's nuts, dude.
I know. I know.
How do you feel being completely done with the profession?
I feel relieved.
I bet, dude.
I couldn't do my job. I came into this job truly for the community, you know, because it was at the time in 1998, it was beautiful. I wanted to live here. I, didn't want to be a cop, but I kind of fell into it and I was excited about it. You know, I didn't come from the military, so all of that was totally foreign to me, all this marching and formation and stuff. I'm like, what is this? You know? So, but I had grown up in an alcoholic family and I really thought I could really, make a difference.
Affect some change.
Yeah, affect some change, right? We were on the brink of homelessness. I
think most cops believe that.
Yeah.
Everybody's
like, that's a bunch of BS. Everybody says that or whatever. But no, that's truly.
People can say that's BS, but I think, there's plenty of people now that are going into the profession because you can make $110K a year or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
And if you're 20 years old and you don't have, I think 21, by the time you graduate the academy, you have to be 21 years old. Because when I went through the academy with a 20-year-old. He's a good kid. He actually works here in Marysville. And the rule was by graduation day, you have to be 21 years old, right? Which is a child.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've went through 2 police academies now. I was inside of the profession for a decade. And the majority of people show up with that same mindset. Like, I can do good. And then the system beats them down to the point where they don't feel like they can do good anymore. And they're just counting their days till they can drop their bags and be done with it. That's fucking, and now I think that's happening sooner and sooner and sooner because, and this was fucking a couple years ago when I was leaving the profession, but I knew cops that had been a police officer for 2, 3, 4 years that were already over it.
Yeah.
That's sad, man.
Yeah. It's really sad. And you don't really realize how much stress and PTSD that you truly are carrying this whole time. I mean, there was one day that I had over 7 DOAs, all separate.
Wow.
7.
That's hard, man.
Yeah. You know, I saw 7 dead people at 7 different places in one day.
Fuck.
I mean,
and I tell people all the time with the port, it was basically like, compared to most departments, almost a vacation. I can be honest about that.
Yeah.
You know, I dealt with, I can count with one hand how many dead bodies I dealt with. You dealt with 7 in a day. In a
9-hour period, I had 7 dead bodies.
And here's the thing too, you know, somebody's great grandpa having a heart attack at 96, that doesn't really get to me, right? But when you have a dude that fucking slits his wrists and fucking there's blood everywhere. I had a guy slit his wrist at the end of Pier 69, blood everywhere, and then jumped in. And he took his shoes off in between. So it's just weird shit, right?
Yeah.
And then we had to go fish his body.
Well, see, and that stuff.
Go fish his body out of the, and I've been depressed before. I've even been suicidal at times in my life. And so it's like, fuck, where was he at?
There was this one call that I had, and I was pretty new. And this is the one that's been the most traumatizing to me over, 25 years, right? I mean, I was hired in 98, but they've put me in this black hole for the last 2 years. Yeah. So I really have only worked like 23 years, okay. Right?
Only 23, yeah.
Yeah. So, but when I was new, North Seattle, 85th and Aurora, I'm sitting at the light and I look, it's Christmas, literally Christmas. And I look over and I just see this guy just fall to the ground. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right. So I turn my car and I go in the other entrance and I get out and this guy has had a heart attack, right by the gas pumps. He was pumping his gas. And this, and his son was with him and his son is disabled. And his son, I'm starting CPR, right away, is like, officer, is my dad going to be okay? Because I have lots of Christmas presents for him.
Fuck.
And I'm like, oh my God.
He fucking died, huh?
Yeah, he died. And that was a long time ago. And that every single Christmas I think about it.
Isn't that weird how certain things, it's the same with me with the wars. Like, I don't feel like I carry a bunch of necessarily negative PTSD that affects me in a bad way. But I also know, like, there's certain incidents that they're just with you forever.
Yeah. And you can't shake it no matter what you do. I mean, there will never be a Christmas that I don't think of this. I mean, it's been 20 something years now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It is crazy. And, you know, there's several like that, you know. So,
and I tell people too, man, because I encourage police officers. If you're a cop and you love your job, keep doing your job.
Absolutely.
But if you're a cop that hates your job,
get out.
Get out. Don't chase your retirement or your pension.
You are going to die like within a year if you operate like that.
And there's a lot to life. And exactly like you just said, I didn't realize the stress that I carried with the job. And it's not, and I worked for the port again, like as far as like calls for service and violent crimes and the things that most, like I understand it. That's why I always say it, because I like to be very transparent. As far as police work goes, I had it pretty easy the last few years. However, it's not just the bad calls. It's being in body armor for 12 hours at a time.
Yeah, it's your
sitting
hips,
in your car.
It's your hips hurting all the time.
Fucking day. Having a chain of command that says one thing and does another thing. Just all the little things that just stress you out on a regular basis.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk away from it, I got younger. I had friends that are like, Greg, you literally look 5 years younger, dude. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I said, I'm just not being a cop anymore.
Well, I don't know if I'm there yet. Right now, I feel like...
well, you look about 26, 27. Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what am I going to do for a job? You know, right? Because I just I don't have a plan. I just know I had to go.
Yeah.
I could not do any good to anybody anymore.
Well, and
I had to move over into Tri-Cities because the guy was going to come back and kill us probably.
It's fucking nuts.
It was nuts. It was like literally like a Dateline.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you next, because we're already at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Are we really?
Can you believe it's been that long?
No.
And this is usually about where we wrap these up. But I wanted to ask you, ask what's next.
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know. You know, people are like, oh, you're just doing this for a book deal. I'm like, a book deal? What are you talking about? I can't even.
People say that kind of shit and they don't understand what the fuck they're talking about.
I'm like, it took me 3 weeks. First of all, it took me 3 weeks just to write 15 pages, and I wrote it like 100 different times, right? I'm not in this for a book deal. I'm not in this for.
But guess what? Guess what? You gave 25 years of your life to SPD.
I did.
And if you go write a book that outlines your truth and you share perspectives that if it were to make you rich, guess what that means? That a lot of people want to consume it, right? So you write a book that empowers people, that informs people, and you make some money on the side, that's called winning. Everybody wins. And people are afraid to, oh, you did this for a book deal. What if I did do a book deal? Because I get that. The reason I'm fired up by that is because I get the same shit. Oh, you just did this because of blah, blah, blah. And they come up with some dumb reason. What if I did do that?
Yeah.
And what is it to you? You know, what if you do write some fucking radical book that gets on a New York Times bestseller list and you do financially exceptionally well? I hope you do. And anyone that doesn't like that, fuck you.
That wasn't even in.
No, I'm not saying it was.
No, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling this person who, you know, is like, you're just in it for a book deal or whatever. I'm like, actually, that had never crossed my mind. But now that you say that,
yeah, why not?
You know what? No, I'm not a writer. I don't know what's next. I had no plan. I still have no plan. I don't know.
Well, it goes back to what we said earlier. I honestly believe if you're putting good out into the universe, you're following your truth,
yes,
you're living morally and ethically straight.
And that is the most important thing to me, honestly, is just being true and being ethical.
You do those things, I don't think you can lose. I think the universe, you can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it karma, like whatever different conclusion people draw with how this world works. I think you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
And you stand up for what's right.
That's right. And
you're living your truth. I don't think you can lose.
Yeah.
And yeah, there'll be plenty of people that that's a stupid thing to say. Like, I don't give a fuck what people think about it, because what I've found in life is by doing that myself, my life continues to be on an upward trajectory. And not just like, it's not about how much money you make. Making money's cool, don't get me wrong, but it's about how I feel about myself. It's about how I feel emotionally. It's about the relationships that I have with the people in my family and my friends. Yeah. And it's like, it continues to get better because I'm no longer allowing myself to get pulled by all the fucking negativity.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if you haven't seen it already, you'll start to. You will there's 100% chance that you will. Well,
I just know that, you know, for me and my soul, that I just have to remain true, and, you know, I'm not, and my integrity, your integrity really is all you've got.
Yeah.
When it's all gone, your integrity, either you have it or you don't.
And when you're on your deathbed 40 years from now, do you want to look
probably
back?
Like 10 for me. Unless I get the heart attack gun, and then it's probably like 10 minutes.
But like, what is this all worth if you look back on your life and you're not proud of the things you did and the person that you were?
Right.
You know?
Right. Like, did you stand for something?
Yeah. Did you have fucking hard lines? Did you have values? Did you have things that
Did you protect your people?
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you protect your people? Did you stand up for what you believe in? Did you call it out, the corruption, when you saw it?
Yep.
Did you do anything about it? Or did you at least try to do something about it?
Nope. I mean, that's all real shit. And most people on their deathbed are going to look back and there's going to be an element of shame.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
I don't want that either.
And I don't want that at all.
And God bless my dad. I mean, I love my dad, right? But my dad is like, Jesse, I don't think you should rock the boat. I think you need, just tone it down. He's like, I think, he's like, the government's going to come after you or whatever. I'm like, I will die on my feet.
And be happy about it.
I will die. I am not bending.
Once you are comfortable with your own demise, no one can have power over you. I say it all the time on the show. The government's mistake of what they did to me is send me to war 14 times. Because as a young man, I got comfortable with the idea I'm probably getting fucking shot or blown up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I wanted to get shot or blown up. It meant I just looked at the game I was playing on a percentage basis and said, this deployment's probably the one that gets me. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Every man dies. William Wallace. That's why I have my sword right here.
Yeah.
That movie changed my life when I was 14 years old when it came out. And one of the quotes was, every man dies.
Never seen it.
Not every man truly lives. If you haven't seen Braveheart,
I have not seen
I don't even want to publish this episode anymore. I'm going to put this
I've never seen Star Wars either.
That's okay. Star Wars is gay. This is going on a hard drive until you watch Braveheart, and then I'll agree to publish it. It's the best movie of all time, hands down, in my opinion.
Okay,
because the whole premise of Braveheart is an everyday man who wanted peace. He wanted a family. He wanted to live a life. God willing, I want to raise crops and a family. That was what William Wallace wanted to do. And the government pushed him to saying, fuck you. And he went and killed them all. And every single time I watch it, I get fucking chills up my spine because every man should be willing to do that. Well,
and every woman too.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, I just don't know where everybody's stones went.
I think they've been systematically diminished. Both, and we'll put our tinfoil hats on one more time before we wrap this up. But testosterone's down.
It is.
We're eating unclean foods. We're not drinking good sources of water. We're not out in the sun. Like, go on and on and on and on and on of all the little things that are diminishing the human spirit. And
they are intentionally making us sick.
You put all those together. Now you have a society of men and women that aren't willing to stand up and say, fuck you, make me.
Yeah.
Because when you have that, like one of my shirts that the podcast put out, it says become ungovernable. And that doesn't mean fucking let's have a revolution. That means be a man that can stand on your own 2 feet no matter what.
Yeah.
It might mean start a revolution under the right circumstances.
Don't break the law. I don't do anything I'm not supposed to do, but I'm not going to sit there and just let you,
of course not,
bulldoze over me either.
And you shouldn't. 100 years ago, that was normal.
I've got like 200 people under me, when I was watch commander, right? That's
substantial.
That's a lot of people that are looking to you for direction,
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if you're going to tell me that I have to tell them that they have to put that shot in their
100%.
arm. There's no way that is happening. There is no way.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud to be sitting here with another cop that was willing to just stand up, and you didn't even do anything crazy. That's the thing. What you did is just speak the truth.
Yeah.
I used to tell cops that all the time. Because I got a lot of people like, whoa, bro, what you did was fucking incredible. I said, all I did is talk for 8 minutes about the truth. I shouldn't be considered incredible. But the reason why people think our stories are incredible is because most people have been fucking castrated to the point where even sitting down and writing a letter about their perspective or filming a video about their perspective, they're too fearful to do even that.
And that's really sad.
It's sad.
It's really sad. I would rather live in a cardboard box, which could still happen.
Yep.
Than bend the knee. I'm not going to do it.
We're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
I phrase it as I'll starve to death in the woods before I'll do what you tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not
like Rage Against the Machine said. I've been listening to that since I was a little boy. Fuck you. I won't do what you tell me.
Yeah.
But then those motherfuckers told everyone to get vaccinated. So fuck you too.
Yeah. I'm not going to. I'm just not going to cave.
It's awesome.
I'm going to keep standing. So
if people want to reach out to you, are you cool with me putting your Instagram in the show notes below?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to say what it is so people can?
It's the dot. Oh God, look it up, will you? Real quick.
No, this is what I'll do. I'll look it up.
It's the dot real dot lieutenant dot Taylor.
Okay.
But I can't remember if I spelled lieutenant out.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it doesn't matter if you're on Spotify or if you're on iTunes. All you have to do is swipe up in the show notes below. I'll have a direct link. And because how these podcasts work is inevitably your story is going to touch someone and they're going to want to share something with you, or they're going to want to talk to you about something. And it's kind of fascinating because before you know it, things start to open up. Opportunities, relationships. Like it was, for me, it was a cool journey. And it's one that I just fucking jumped in with both feet, and being willing to engage with people and do other podcasts and get to know different people and just fucking be present and talk and listen. Man, it was a very powerful period of time in my life.
Yeah, they've kept us so separated for so long.
Yep.
And that like-minded people are starting to find each other, you know?
They can't stop it.
And they can't stop it.
You know?
They can't stop it. And, you know, there'll come a time where they'll try to, you know, censor podcasts or whatever. But even that's going decentralized.
Yep. The more they try and censor, the more
creative.
Yeah, the more creative we'll get.
Yeah.
Because the message is not going to get fucking stifled anymore.
No.
Any final words before we wrap it up?
Nope. I think hang in there, Seattle. You know, I think you vote on policy, not on personality. Hang in there with your cops. They're very good people. They're doing the best they can without a contract right now. Please support them. And hopefully we'll just be able to turn the ship around. You know, I have faith. I love the city. I really do. I can't do it anymore, and I'm sorry that I can't.
Hey, everybody reaches their burnout.
Yeah, but I don't. I can't live a lie.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just not that person.
Well, I appreciate you making the crazy drive out here.
One other thing I want to say. Yeah. I just, please, people, officers, please speak up.
Yes.
Please.
Speak up on your social media.
Yes, please.
Speak up with your families.
You know, I know.
Speak up at your town hall meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please. I know that it's hard.
We need it.
And I know what the manual says, but nobody else is abiding by the manual.
Yep.
We need your voice. You know, Seattle needs your voice.
Yep.
So
well, I can't end it on a better note than that. So thank you so much for making the trip.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.